Hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to talk about a very serious issue, an issue which is plaguing Indian economy, Indian society, and as Karl Marx said, that everything that happens because of the economic structure. So today we are going to talk about the income inequality in India. Now, please understand this, that when I say income inequality, it is not just about having an inequality of salary or of wealth or of savings or of investment. No. When you're appearing for the UPSC examination, you have to have a broader approach. That why are we studying income inequality? We are studying income inequality so that we can know the impact of income inequality on the Indian society. That is the reason, and that is why do not ever be surprised when, if and when you get a question somewhere around income inequality in GS2 as well. Although inequality as a topic is a topic of GS3, right? Inequality and inclusive growth. Fine. Inequality, unemployment, all of these, they come under GS3. But even in GS2, you have this aspect of social justice. Fine. And social justice is not achieved when there is humongous income inequality. So my point here is that you need to have a broader approach and a very good brainstorming exercise that you should have whenever you start a very wide topic like this, which is income inequality, is about how you can structure any answer, any question, any answer, any kind of challenge that UPSC throws at you, is how will you structure this topic in itself. So for example, the income inequality as such, first you will define what it is, right? First thing that you will do is, what is income inequality? Second thing which you will define is how to measure income inequality, right? What is income inequality? It is unnatural and extreme difference in the income levels of the population of a country, leading to various consequences like social unrest. How to measure income inequality? There are various measures like the Gini coefficient, like the Lorentz curve, like the Kuznets curve. We'll talk about it. The third thing is, and we're not at the solution yet. The third thing is, what is the impact of income inequality? Don't you think so? Think from the perspective of a bureaucrat. You have been given this topic of income inequality. You have to find solutions to it, or you have to give a speech on it. What is the impact of income inequality? This is a very important part of your answer, substantive part of your answer, because this is the reason why we are studying about it altogether. Then, what are the steps taken to reduce inequality? Steps taken to reduce inequality. Here you will talk about government measures, government schemes, government issues. Here you will also, of course, here you will also write reasons why inequality exists, income inequality exists. So impact and reasons, then steps taken, and then way forward. Because clearly the steps taken are not enough, so then you will go to way forward, right? This is the flow of your answer as well. Now, I'm not saying that you are supposed to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts of your answer. No, I'm not saying that. But you need to pick and choose your points in such a way that they are able to justify what you want to say. Coming here, let's talk about some data, some facts, some kind of structure of why. And this is a part which you do not have to write separately. Okay, this is a part which you do not have to write separately. You have to include it in issues. So, for example, inequality पर, income inequality पर अगर एक सवाल आया है, तो your impact, one of the impact would be that creates an unequal social structure. It creates an unequal social structure, right? Then you will cite that according to the World Inequality Report, the top 1% of the Indian population, hold 22% of Indian wealth. And here I want to just remind you that if you have, let me just tell you here, that if you have the Sunya IAS books, then you will find the notes over there. But if you do not have the Sunya IAS books and if you do not plan on ordering them as well, then you can make handwritten notes. Okay? It's up to you whether you want to call for the book or not. But if you are not doing that, you will have to make the handwritten notes. Anyway, yes. So when you write that what happens when there is income inequality, there is an unequal social structure which is created, wherein according to World Inequality Report, 1% of Indian population owns 22% of national income and 10% of Indian population owns 57% of national income. That means it is a highly skewed way in which things are divided. Then, when we talk about gender inequality, according to the same report, World Inequality Report 2022, the share of female wealth, what is share of female wealth? That if the wealth of a country is 100, okay, only 18% of that wealth is owned by women. Are you understanding what is female wealth? The share of female wealth is only 18%. That means if the share of, if the wealth created by India is 100, the wealth owned by the women is only 18. Alright, that is there. Then there is Inequality Kills by Oxfam report, and there is a very big issue that has been flagged over here. The Inequality Kills report by Oxfam, what are the social security expenditures that are supposed to be done? What are the aspects of social security that need to be taken forward? There is health, there is education, there is standard of living, right? There is health, there is education, there is standard of living. यही तीन होते हैं. Standard of living में आप बहुत सारी चीजें ऐड कर सकते हैं. So as of 2022-23, this Oxfam report shows that the health expenditure of India has declined by 10%, which is a big problem. The health expenditure of India, healthcare budget of India has declined by 10%. The education budget of India has declined by 6%. Okay. And overall the social security schemes, including Manrega, if you will remember, there was a huge outcry over the fact that Manrega budget has not been increased, rather it has been slashed. So it has been reduced by 1.6%. right? 10%, 16%, 1.6%. How you can remember this? 10 plus 6, 16. You just put a dot in between and 1.6. So 10 plus 6, 16. 10% reduction in health, 6% in education, and in the social security schemes like Manrega, overall reduction is 1.6%, right? So not something to be very proud of. Then there is state of inequality report in India, and please make sure that you are not writing all of this in one go. There is no value when you write it this way. You write down the points that I'm telling you in this way, but overall, when you are writing the impacts of wealth inequality, then for example, you write that one of the impacts is it increases the rural-urban divide. It increases the rural-urban divide, and here it has to be said that in the urban areas, this report says that 44% of wealth is concentrated in the hands of the rich in the urban areas, right? In the highest quintile. So 44% wealth is in the hands of the top 20% when it comes to the urban areas, right? So that means the level of inequality is higher in the urban areas. These are some of the statistics, right, that you have to use. Again, I'm saying don't just remember it by heart and just put it out on the paper as soon as you see the word inequality. Don't do that. This topic is such, and inequality as a topic is such, that it can be asked in various ways. So for example, it can be asked in the form of jobless growth. How jobless growth leads to income inequality, how inequality leads to jobless growth. Okay, then it can be asked in context of agricultural decline, how the decline of agriculture leads to income inequality. Again, then it can be asked in the form of corruption, how corruption leads to income inequality. Then lack of manufacturing sector. Are you getting it? So you cannot, for this kind of a topic, what I'm trying to tell you is you need to open your brain. You cannot just remember these points in a line and just keep on writing as it is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No, that will not help you. Okay, that is what I wanted to tell. Now let's come to the ways how to measure income inequality. So one way, and very famous way, is the Kuznets curve. Now Kuznets curve tells us, and this is important for prelims also, that when an economy is growing, when a society, when an economy is growing, initially there will be, as the GDP of that economy increases, initially there will be increase in inequality. Initially there will be increase in inequality. Then there will come a plateau. Why there will be an increase in inequality? Because the more, let's say, the people who are more industrious, the people who know how to make money, they will keep on making more money, more money, more money, and they will keep on. Just like in COVID, we saw that the people who ventured into creating masks and sanitizers and PPE kits and everything, they earned a lot of money in that phase, right? So this will happen when it's a developing economy. The industrious people will first earn more money, then it will come to a plateau, and then there will be reduction in inequality. So in a developing economy, as the GDP increases, first there will be increase in inequality and then decrease. So it will go somewhat like this, if this represents inequality, wealth inequality, right? This is Kuznets curve. Then we come to Lorentz curve. What is Lorentz curve? Lorentz curve tells us what is the ideal line of equality. So for example, if this is your x-axis and y-axis, Lorentz curve is this, and this is the line of perfect equality. Okay, this is the line of perfect equality. So someone, if an economy is, let's say, lying over here, that economy has perfect equality. It has everyone having equal income. Of course, that's a hypothetical situation. But if mostly the curve is like this, okay, mostly the curve is like this rather. So the thing is that the more number of people which are below the ideal equal situation, the more is the inequality, right? The more number of people who are below the ideal situation, the more is the inequality, right? And when you represent Lorentz curve in terms of a number, you represent it through Gini coefficient. Now you don't have to write all of this, okay? When you write an answer, most probably you will be getting an application based question, so you will not be needed to write all of these things. But here you need to remember, and even in prelims you can be asked, that Gini coefficient is the numerical representation of Lorentz curve. And what does it represent? If the Gini coefficient is 0, that means there is zero inequality. So that means it is a situation. Let me talk about the Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient, it can range from 0 to 1. When it is 0, it means there is zero inequality. That means there is perfect equality. Everyone is equal. So this is the situation wherein we are lying on that line that I told you. This line, the perfect equality situation. If the Gini coefficient is 1, that is perfect inequality, maximum inequality, okay? Perfect inequality, right? Right now, the Gini coefficient of India is said to be 0.35. Although I believe that this is not correctly measured, because India is considered one of the most unequal countries of the world. But somehow the calculation suggests that 0.35 is the Gini coefficient of India. So remember this figure, and this should of course come to 0. Okay, that is there. Then how else do you measure inequality? Gini coefficient I told you. Now comes the real deal, which will fetch you marks. Causes of inequality. Now when you talk about causes of inequality, it is very clear. There has been massive discrimination against certain sections of society. Certain sections of society, and politically we have tried to give income equality to those people who are SCs, who are STs, who are women, right? When we talk about Article 16 also, Article 16, that is talking about public employment. So we have made sure that we can create some extra initiatives for these sections of the society. But the fact that for women, let's say, for example, there is a glass ceiling. You understand the concept of glass ceiling? What is a glass ceiling? That beyond a certain level of income, women cannot go beyond that income. It is very difficult for women to go beyond that income, because to breach this glass ceiling, women need to put in long hours. women need to sacrifice their family life, and women are considered responsible for their family life. Even the man is considered responsible, but man is not considered, man is not expected to be in the house while maintaining his career. He can be out for late, he can be out for, maintaining his life and everything. But for women, there is a glass ceiling. And why glass ceiling? Why not steel ceiling or iron ceiling? Because this is not visible. There is no reason why women won't get promotions, or women won't get crucial decision making, roles like the CEO, etc. There is no reason as such. There is no visible reason. But then there is a ceiling beyond which they cannot venture. It's an unsaid rule. So the income inequality also comes from this kind of historical differentiation and discrimination which sections have had. Then when you talk about social, historical and social can be mixed in that regard. Women and patriarchy, for example, the female labor force participation rate also has gone down lately. So another example I'll give you, just about 65% of Indian women are literate, right? This figure is more than 75% for overall average of the country, and the men of course are more literate than women, but just about 65%. So out of every 100, only 65 women are literate, right? This creates a big problem. When you don't have basic literacy, you are restricted to certain professions, you are restricted to certain social structures which you cannot breach. And that is the social reason for income inequality. Right now we are talking about reasons, causes of inequality, just remember. So these are the social causes of inequality. 65% of women only being literate. Then manual scavenging as a phenomena existing. So that's a social ill. Do you think manual scavengers earn a lot? No. But if we talk about the data provided by the government as of 2021, there are more than 58,000 manual scavengers in the country. Now, when there are 58,000 manual scavengers in the country, these 58,000 people have 58,000 families also. There are people, and of course, manual scavenging is a job that is restricted to men as such. There is hardly any female manual scavenger. Okay, so they go inside the drains and they do all sorts of cleaning that we cannot afford to avoid, and they don't get anything. They rather get very low income, and they have no way that they can shift to other professions as well, because no one is willing to take them. Fine. Then education levels also, the lesser the education levels, more the income inequality that will be there, because it is very evident that the more you study, the higher you go up in the educational ladder, the more you earn. So that is there. Fine. Okay. Then economic aspects, and this is when you get a question on this in the domain of GS3, this is what you need to write. Income inequality also increases because of regressive taxation. Right now, every year there is a competition between GST or corporate tax or income tax about which tax gives the maximum revenue to the government. So lately it has been GST, and when we talk about GST is a regressive tax, because if let's say on a basic essential, like on a masala, let's say, if the GST is rupees 5, rupees 5 GST is being applied on this, a millionaire or a billionaire who is using this masala will also pay rupees 5, and someone who is a manual scavenger will also pay rupees 5. 5 rupees is a much bigger part of the income pie for the manual scavenger than it is for the person who is a millionaire or a billionaire or even a lakhpati for that matter, right? So this is a regressive tax. Okay, it impacts more to the people who are poor than it impacts from the rich, and that's why it enhances inequality. Then public spending, as I just told you according to the report, that the health, the education, the social security expenditures have reduced. So right now, as of 2023, and this is an increased percentage, let me tell you, this is an increased percentage, only 2.1% of GDP is spent on healthcare. This is an increased percentage. Earlier it was 1.6, but only 2.1%, and the ideal also is just 2.5% of GDP. The goal that we have is to spend 2.5% of our GDP on health. The most advanced countries, they spend anywhere about 15 to 20% of their GDP on sectors like education, health. In fact, within India, it is Delhi that spends about 18% of its GDP on education. And Delhi model of education has been doing well overall. Okay, so that is there. The primary reason of income inequality is the failure of agriculture. It is the failure of agriculture to actually generate substantive revenue. Please note down this because I'm going to rub this off. So agriculture, you all know that agriculture has employed right now about 47% of population, generating hardly 17% of GDP. Hardly 17%. It is not even equating the amount of people employed in this. So agricultural people involved in agriculture are having low incomes very clearly. They are disguised unemployment में फंसे हुए हैं वो, right? And these are the issues which are there. So agriculture. Then failure of labor intensive manufacturing in India. It is failure of labor intensive manufacturing in India. Right now we are doing course corrective measures wherein we are saying ki okay, make in India, startup India, everything, but the fact is that we missed the train of manufacturing which could have helped us to gain an edge just like China gained, right? So we missed that train and now we are just trying to catch up somehow. Inflation, it has consistently been over 6%, especially the consumer price index, because the food inflation has been so much. So when inflation is high, if I am earning 100 rupees, someone is earning 10,000 rupees, and my expense towards food is 50 rupees, and this person's expense also is about, let's say, 60 rupees, then disposable income for me is so much lesser than this person. Let's say even if this person, 60 chodo, even if this person somehow ends up spending 500 rupees, 500 rupees, that is 10x of what I am spending. Even then, I am left with just rupees 50 to spend on rest of my needs, and here this person is left with 9,500 rupees to spend on rest of their needs. एंड ऐसा नहीं है कि ये चीज देखी नहीं गई है, right? Recently, when the socio-economic caste census of Bihar came out, it was seen that crores of families in Bihar are surviving on less than rupees 200 rupees per day. Rupees 200 per day is nothing for a family of even a single person. 200 rupees in today's time, in this high inflation time wherein inflation is constantly touching 6%, 200 rupees is nothing. But crores of families are surviving, right? So that is there. And this concept, you know, this inflation concept, has been explained by Karl Marx very well. Let me tell you this. The more there is inflation, the lesser will be the wages. Karl Marx, the people who have political science might be knowing Karl Marx. So the more the inflation, the lesser will be the wages. Why? Because the employer will try to keep maximum amount of pie for himself. So if this is the income pie and this was the employee's share earlier, let's say this was the employee's share earlier, now the share will shrink down to only this, because the employer will have to make sure that he himself is providing for himself and his family in this inflation time. And the employees which are at the disposal of this employer will be left hand to mouth. What is this phenomena called? This is called the surplus value, the theory of surplus value. So the workers who are actually working, who are actually producing things, are not able to generate any surplus value. They are not able to make any savings. When inflation is very high, they are not able to make any savings, and that is why they will always be hand to mouth. So a high inflation will always pinch the poorest of the poor more than the rich ones, and that will again lead to income inequality. Then the labor movement is also weakening. So this is a very interesting aspect, that labor movement in India is weakening, especially in the urban areas, and this is primarily because the conditions of labor are such that people cannot afford to people cannot afford to be on the roads fighting for their rights. They have to fend for their family, right? Wealth distribution is skewed, that we just discussed. There is wealth concentration, and overall globalization also is a reason, because since the service sector boom, since the IT boom, the few people who had the skills, the digital skills, the IT skills, they gained massive income, which is not a bad thing, it is a good thing. But there was no trickle down effect. There was no trickle down effect. And when there's no trickle down effect, that is the time when you actually lose faith in the system of the economy. Then when we talk about governance, there is no continuation of policies when it comes to the governance. So for example, let me tell you, recently, it has been a few years now, but the corporate tax was reduced to a standard 22% for all the corporates, right? So this reduction has costed heavily to the exchequer, the government, but still it has happened, and it happened suddenly out of nowhere. And if we talk about let's say the global regime also, globally it is 15% tax, minimum tax that companies have to pay. We have kept it 22%. But we have to think that the highest tax bracket for the middle class person is 33%. A person is spending 33% of their income giving tax to the government, right? So the parity is not there. Then there is large scale informal employment. There is large scale informal employment, which comes up to about 82 to 83% according to IMF. IMF has made this estimate that about 82 to 83% of Indian workforce, earlier it was more than 90%. There has recently been a massive shift towards formalization. So 82 to 83% of Indian labor force is in informal sector. That is IMF data. Okay. Regressive tax, then there is corruption. Corruption costs dearly to the people because the amount that was supposed to go for their benefit is actually taken by the ministers, etc. Administrative bottleneck, then there is unequal benefits out of economic reforms. So what economic reforms? LPG reforms we are talking about, how service sector took up the lion's share and how the agriculture was stagnated and starved. Fine. Pandemic and its after effects and regional inequalities, that is interstate inequalities, are a lot, and pandemic also has exacerbated the inequalities in so many ways. Fine. Then very important aspect, in the fourth industrial revolution that is going on right now, there is a massive digital divide. What is happening? Just a second. There is a massive digital device. People do not have the skills that are needed to run this particular wave, and people are failing to grasp this wave of digitalization. So no matter whether you bring up Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana or Ayushman Bharat Digital Health Mission or whatever, you will not be able to percolate these differences, and that's why there's this UPI Lite, there is UPI 123 that has come up for the feature phones, so that even those who do not have smartphones, they can access the benefits of UPI. It is very important, it is very crucial that they do. Then geographical, there is no proper infrastructure for so many people. Just imagine a place wherein there are no roads for you to go to school, wherein there is no electricity for you to study when you come back, right? When there is no water for you to actually drink when you want to and be healthy, be clean and be healthy. This is not a hypothetical situation, right? And for this we have come out with this scheme. For example, in PM Divine scheme for the northeastern region, we are trying to provide basic infrastructure to the northeastern region now. The basic one, like roads, like railways, like bridges, like basic infrastructure, because we did not remember giving them the infrastructure in more than 75 years. So PM Divine scheme has come up now. And overall personal factors which are innate abilities and intelligence, but this is also, this debate is called the nature versus nurture debate. Nature versus nurture debate, which talks about the fact that the way you are born and the way you are brought up, how do they impact your ability in the future life. So it has been consistently said that yes, nature has a role, but always the nurture aspect of it will overshadow. If you are born in a slum, it will take you so many more years and so much more talent than someone who is born in a relatively affluent middle class or upper middle class family, right? Now, impact of inequality. We have studied about the reasons of inequality, and the beautiful or the strange thing, I should say, about this income inequality is that the reasons and the impacts are somewhat overlapping. Are you understanding? The reasons and the impacts of inequality are of wealth inequality are overlapping. So when we talk about impact on governance, when there is wealth inequality, e-governance suffers. As I told you, people will not be able to take up the initiatives that the government is running. People will not be able to understand how to use them, right? After demonetization, because the people were forced to take up the Paytm and everything, that is why in every corner, nook and corner of the country, you see that Paytm and UPI and Bharat Pay or whatever, these QR codes are running. But otherwise, how difficult it would have been to actually convince the people to let go of cash and use mobile money, right? Then there is a level playing field which becomes missing. So if someone's parents are earning rupees 10,000 a month and someone's parents are earning, let's say, rupees 10 lakh a month, right? 10 lakh a month, there is a huge difference in the kind of upbringing that child will have. Why? Because this 10,000 earning couple will have to send their child to a government school. And here is where the impoverishment starts, because government school infrastructure is not good. Government school teachers are not that well trained. I'm not generalizing it. What I'm trying to say is, if you compare a regular government school to a regular private school, whether it is cleanliness, whether it's course completion, whether it's teacher training, whether it's regularity, whether it's infrastructure, everything you will find better in terms of the private school. So it's a whole loop that starts and there is no level playing field. Then there are infrastructural issues, of course. Infrastructural issues are there that remain as a result of income inequality. Politically, when there is a lot of income inequality, it leads to social unrest. So for example, right now, there is this demand for Maratha reservation. Why is there a demand for Maratha reservation? Because Marathas are not socially backward castes. They're not. They are actually one of the advanced, the upper castes, so-called upper castes. Why are they having this demand of reservation? They're having this demand because the economic condition is not good. Whenever a demand will come up, it will only be because economic condition is not good. There is wealth inequality, there is income inequality. So they are demanding that we need reservation in government jobs, despite not being from the lower, so-called lower caste. Then it is, of course, against constitutional values, Too much of income inequality is against Article 39, which talks about minimizing the inequalities, the social inequalities, right? And it's threat to cooperative federalism, because ultimately the states which are well-to-do, and we are seeing this right now when we are talking about delimitation and we are talking about the next finance commission. We are talking about the fact that there is going to be a overarching representation of North Indian states, and the South Indian states will suffer because they have been successful in population control and they have been providing more revenue to the government also, but they will not be getting that much revenue. So that is problematic, right? And ultimately it will be a threat to cooperative federalism. So if there is a lot of income inequality in India, it will ultimately impact cooperative federalism also. Fine. Talking about economic aspect of it, income inequality will reduce the workforce, because if the workforce is not skilled, you will not be able to extract a lot of good work out of them. So for example, if it's a Manrega worker, it will take you years, not months, I'm talking years, to make the Manrega worker proficient in computers. And because the Manrega worker is not having this much money in pocket to go for computer training and everything, that resource, that potential human resource who could have sat in a graphic designing office, or maybe somewhere where he can invest more, he can earn more also, that skill is not being learnt, and that's why there is a ceiling which has been created beyond which the person cannot go. That is what is workforce. So the workforce gets deteriorated, right? Then there's concentration of wealth. This is the impact we have talked about. So cause also, impact also, right? And this concentration of wealth will lead to social unrest. Are you understanding? It perpetuates poverty. According to the multidimensional poverty index of Niti Aayog, about 14.96% of people in India are multidimensionally poor. They're multidimensionally poor. So they'll be poor in health, they'll be poor in education, social indicators, everything. Now, slowdown of growth and development of nation. When a country knows that there is excessive income inequality in this country, the faith in the country reduces. People try to go out of the country, and those who cannot go out of the country, they do not work as hard because they know that they cannot reach that level. Why is India called a republic? Just think and tell me, why have we chosen to be a republic and not a monarchy like UK? It might not appear relevant over here, but still I'm asking you this. Why have we chose to call us a republic and not a monarchy? Think about it. The fact that we are a republic means that there is hope. Hope for any and every person born in this country, or even not born, who's a citizen of this country, to become the first citizen of this country. That is the President of India. That is what being a republic is, right? That the first citizen, the highest citizen of the country, is not hierarchically selected. That person is elected. And that is what happened, right now our president is Draupadi Murmu ma'am. Someone who has not come from the richest of the backgrounds, but someone who has actually worked at the grassroots. Someone who is actually belonging to the scheduled tribe, and someone who has faced the harshest of times. But even beyond all of that, she has been able to achieve this title of the President of India, right? So this is why it is important for people. This is in the political sphere, right? But in the economic sphere, if you know that no matter how much I work, I will not be able to earn as much money as the generational people are earning, then there is no point of you working hard. Why do you think startup culture in India is booming so much? Why do you think the startup founders and all of them, they have become the new celebrities? Because they instill hope. They instill hope that these people coming from average families, maybe middle class, maybe maximum upper middle class, they can become millionaires and billionaires as well. And that is important. Okay. So that is there. Then socially what it does is it inhibits human development. When you're not having enough income, your human development gets inhibited, and this is what Poshan Abhiyan is all about. This is about Janani Suraksha Yojana is all about, that no matter if you're poor also, you deserve to be fed nicely so that the child that you are going to give birth to can have that kind of nutrition. So Janani Suraksha Yojana. It will also lead to widening caste discrimination, because there is no denial to the fact that the poorest of the poor are somehow those who are from the lower caste. And if they are not able to rise up the caste ladder, then they will not be able to overall improve their social situation. And that is why the creamy layer aspect, has been introduced in the OBC reservation, so that the already wealthy OBCs do not take away the benefit given by the OBC reservation. Then less access to public services, women empowerment will suffer, and overall it will destabilize the society. And technologically it will of course propagate digital divide as well. Now this is very important. As I told you, the structure, you have to talk about the government initiatives that have been taken. Fine. So when we talk about the social initiatives, we have provided for social security. How? For example, Ayushman Bharat mission. Ayushman Bharat has two aspects of it. The Jan Arogya Yojana, that is the insurance scheme, and the primary healthcare centers, right? So these kind of social security schemes, even if you have, even as a poor person, if you get into an accident, you will not be on the mercy of politicians to announce grants for your family, to announce things for your family. You will be having a pension, you will be having a insurance that will provide for you. Similarly, there is Atal Pension Yojana. Right? That is there. Then increasing spending on creation of social infrastructure. We are trying to build social infrastructure like hospitals, like schools, we are trying to increase that. So as I told you, PM Divine, roads infrastructures are not just roads, bridges, all of this infrastructure is not just physical infrastructure. This is social infrastructure as well, which helps in the upliftment of people in their social construct, right? Then minimum needs program. So for example, PM Kisan is direct benefit transfer, DBT, cash transfer to all the farmers, no matter how much their land is, to all the farmers there will be direct benefit transfer. So this is minimum needs program. They can spend the amount 6,000 rupees per year they will be getting, and they can spend this amount in the way that will enhance their productivity. Okay. Then economy related financial inclusion, there is the JAM Trinity. Fine. Jandan, Aadhaar and mobile. And India has become a global case study of how to include the poorest of the poor in your financial inclusion. So JAM Trinity is there. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which has created bank accounts for the people, for the poorest of the people, so that when something like this is announced, PM Kisan, people do not have to rush to the bureaucrats, the babus, to get their money. They can directly get their money in this bank account, right? And this will reduce the income inequality, because if earlier there was, let's say, rupees 500 ka share every person, these kind of shares used to happen. It's nothing that is out of the blue, okay? So if 6,000 rupees are to be given, 500 would be kept by the officer, that particular person, and this is a hypothetical situation, but something based on real instances. So effectively, the Kisan would be getting just 5,500 rupees, right? That will not happen now, because directly it is going in the bank account. Then support for entrepreneurship, there is Startup India. Scheme, and apart from the Startup India scheme, there is Mudra loans as well. These are easy credit schemes which can give collateral free credit to people who are willing to um, have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. Employment guarantee schemes like Manrega. Employment guarantee schemes like Manrega are there, and the best part about Manrega is that it is a demand driven scheme, right? If you demand work, if you are a rural unemployed youth, if you are demanding work, you will get that work. Okay. Subsidies are there, for example MSP, so that farmers do not have to roam around here and there to get at least the minimum support price for their crop. And skill development program, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, for example, which tries to enhance the skills so that the employability can be increased. Tries to enhance the skill so that the employability can be increased. That is there. Fine. Now, all these initiatives have been taken, but it does not mean that scope for more initiatives is not there, right? There is immense scope for more initiatives, and that is, again, this is something that we have to advise to the examiner. This is something where we can show the vision that we have towards the towards this particular issue. So at the policy level, we have to increase progressive taxations. So, for example, reintroduction of wealth tax. We know that the amount of billionaires are increasing. We know the amount of super rich are increasing. So we need to make sure that they do not corner all the benefits of the labor that they are employing without giving their due share. And this should not demotivate them also. They should keep on being more entrepreneurial, earning more, etc. But they should give back to the society as well. Then increasing social spending. So what is social spending? Health, education, social security. We have to spend more. So we have to reach at 6% of GDP for education and 2.5% for health by 2025. Okay. Wealth tax on multimillionaires, rejecting market fundamentalism. So I'm again saying it is not that we will not allow people to earn more money. It's not that. But if you earn more money, you are progressively earning more. You will be rewarded for that, yes, but you need to give back also. So for example, the CSR requirements, there can be a corporate social responsibility law wherein the standard 2% can be increased for the companies who are earning much more than that. Right now it is 2% of their profits. It can be increased for the CSR. Universal income support, this is regarding the care economy. You know, the women who are doing domestic work and not being recognized and not being paid, there was this talk of giving them a universal basic support, all the homemakers, right? So something of that sort can be thought about. And agriculture definitely has to be improved in its efficiency. And you need to understand that agriculture is something which is not taxed also. There is no tax coming from agriculture. Does that mean we should not invest in agriculture? If we do not invest in agriculture, there will be unsustainable urbanization. There will be unsustainable migration. है ना? When the people are living in the rural areas and they can earn well in the rural areas by corporate farming, by overall cooperatives, by self-help groups, then why not to invest here in agriculture, not just by direct benefit transfer schemes, but the aim is to increase the income. So there is this Dalwai panel on doubling farmers' income by 2023-24. which is of course not happening now. Earlier it was 22-23, but doubling farmer income was the aim. And all these PM Kusum and Krishi Sichai Yojana, all of these were aimed at actually increasing the income of farmers and increasing it to such a level that it doubles. That, however, did not happen, has not happened yet. However, what we need to understand is that if we do not invest in agriculture, that is not going to help us to reduce the income inequality. We need to leverage technology, we need to go for more innovative technologies, and we need to promote digital literacy and internet penetration. Socially, women empowerment has to be there. And in fact, this year, the G20 summit that was conducted in New Delhi, it has a specific pillar of women-led development. If half of your population is not involved in your economic growth, how are you supposed to take the advantage of overall globalization, liberalization, and whatnot? Then there needs to be skill training and entrepreneurship promotion. There has to be direct benefit transfer and transfer payments and investments in human capital and public goods. Overall, income inequality is an undesirable situation. You can write this conclusion. Income inequality is an undesirable reality of India, the fifth largest economy of the world. So, ठीक है, आपने एक फैक्ट लिख दिया कि income inequality is an undesirable reality of India, that is the fifth largest economy of the world. So we've told the gravity of the situation, that we have a responsibility. We are the fifth largest economy. We have a responsibility to reduce income inequality. So, progressive and planned measures must be undertaken to minimize it in order to maximize our demographic dividend, right? Demographic dividend will only be maximized when we have income equality, not equality, but reduction in income inequality at least. So in order to maximize our demographic dividend and attain developed status by the year 2047. That is our aim. When we attain 100 years of our independence, we should be a developed country. That is our aim, right? So, income inequality has to reduce for us to be called a developed nation, right? So let me just remind you that this topic is going to be important. All the pointers, all the value additions that we have done are definitely directly going to help you in GS3 for sure. But these pointers, these schemes, these data, this everything is going to help you in GS2 as well, because GS2 has an aspect of social justice. So I hope you derived some value out of this lecture. I will see you all in the next one. Keep studying hard, keep your focus intact, and thank you for watching.